Well, turning to one of the top stories of the week, AT&T's push to become the biggest player in wireless. Lizzie O'Leary taking a look at what the T-Mobile deal means for the network access. Plus, Megan Hughes looking at what units AT&T may need to cut in order to get the deal past regulators. Megan, let me start with you.
Hey, Betty, I want to talk to you a little bit this morning about an index that the Justice Department will likely be using here to judge each market individually. It puts a score on the distribution of customers among competitors, 10,000 being the highest score. That would be a pure monopoly, 5,000 being a market with just 2 competitors. Now, the FTC and the Department of Justice consider anything above 2,500 to be highly concentrated. Bloomberg government analysts found that in the latest tally, which was 2008, almost 85% of the country, of the markets in the country, fall in that category. Now, Bloomberg government analysts found that after an AT&T merger, it will certainly warrant DOJ concern.
The biggest issue with the potential merger would be that the HHI score would jump significantly by more than 100 or 200 points, which is a red flag for the regulators if they want to take action in terms of scrutinizing any sort of merger deal.
Now, we did take a look at some major markets with very high index numbers, so possible targets for AT&T to divest. A few of those, Detroit, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh, all of those near or above 3,000 on this index, so very high on the index. Analysts I talked to say, though, that that index number will just be the first screen. Then regulators will look more closely at metrics specific to AT&T and T-Mobile's presence in those markets. Things like places where AT&T and T-Mobile overlap. We took a look, if you take a look at this map here, all of those areas in purple are areas where the companies overlap. So a very large swath of the country covering some major cities. These index numbers, of course, aren't necessarily a slam dunk. They are going to be looking at these metrics as well.
Megan,
Betty?
thank you for that. Well, now to the deal between AT&T and T-Mobile and the issue of favoritism. If that combination occurs, some internet content could get priority over others. Lizzie has that side of the story. Lizzie?
Well, Betty, we're talking all about net neutrality rules. Remember, this is the idea that a carrier can't discriminate against the content on its internet services. So back in December, when the FCC passed some rules, wireless carriers got an important exception that was made for them. Unlike a regular broadband provider in your house or your office, wireless providers can put some limits on traffic over their network. So think about it this way, in the context of this potential new network size, in terms of market share. Got AT&T and T-Mobile currently coming in second and third place in a pretty big field of competitors. But when they combine, you're talking about a market share of about 39%, and that could crowd some of the other competition. So think about if, say, this new network reached a deal with a company like Hulu to provide video content. Well, then it could conceivably slow down the traffic of a competitor like a Netflix. And that idea has some folks up on Capitol Hill very worried. Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut coming out and saying the largest mobile network in the nation must not be allowed to limit access to content in a discriminatory manner. Still, there are more choices in the wireless field than in traditional broadband, and indeed, that was one of the things that led the FCC to grant those exceptions.
Even worst case scenario, if a carrier like AT&T or Sprint decided to do something anti-competitive in the future, there still are, for virtually every customer in the country, at least 2 more options other than what you have today for cell phone service. So it's not a perfectly competitive market, but that's not that bad either, compared to broadband, for example.
Now, he doesn't think the FCC is actually going to go back and make any changes to those rules. It took a long time to get them into place. Rebecca Arbogast at Stifel Nicolaus thinks you might see some more conditions on the merger. It also depends on what consumer groups say. The Consumer Federation is already saying that net neutrality could be a big issue here. So they are some of the players to watch as we look to how this deal might go forward, Betty.
Okay, more to come on that for sure. Lizzie, thank you.